Okay, it's Tuesday, April 18th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a two up, a red looking day that still maintains the uptrend overall. And now we have some key reference points to monitor to see if we continue or not. After this inside bar yesterday, that closed near the highs of the day. Price gapped up pretty strongly. Between the blue lines was the pre-market range, and we gapped right up to the top of that. So if you look right out of the gates here, the very first trade would have been a sell. If you wanted to just trade this outright today, the only thing that happened was on bar number 2 here, you could have sold anticipating kind of the pre-market range low to be taken out, maybe move towards yesterday's close, and maybe even if you really want to play it, just play it to the halfway point of this green bar. And that's kind of generally what happened. If you just look at today's 15-minute structure, that was really the only trade. There was kind of this one push down all morning. That's your typical morning trade. If you wanted to look for a secondary push in an overall uptrend, it just didn't give you anything, and then it just kind of, after this little push up, it almost went sideways the rest of the day. There was no real easy trading. It's not like you were excited to go short on a secondary sell, given that you're in an overall uptrend. You're way above the midpoint of the prior day. But right out of the gates, the only thing to do was to sell. I mean, there wasn't an aggressive buy to start, although for me, I was trading, let me go to it, NVIDIA this morning when I anticipated the 5-minute chart looked really strong here out of the gates, and I bought that, and this was a very, I exited most of my trade on this first move. Then it kind of pulled back, it went up again, and then I was able to exit the remaining trade on the 15-minute chart when it really couldn't follow through on this secondary push. So somewhere in here, and I bought down here. So, it was a good trade, but even NVIDIA, after its push, pause, secondary push, couldn't go anywhere, and it kind of just settled a little lower, from the highs of the day. But anyway, back to the SPY. What we have now are key reference points going forward. Let me flip that back. So we have the daily chart here. What could develop tomorrow is a 2 down bar. That would be an opening. We'll look at the pre-market range and some kind of opening that goes below yesterday's low. That also lines up with this yellow line, which is kind of the open of the week. So if we get a 2 down, that's going to turn the weekly chart red temporarily, and it's going to target this low and this low here to start. And that kind of, if we get to that target, that kind of has a 2-up weekly failure where you're starting above the high the previous week. And after these, assuming we get some kind of signal and turn this chart red and get to our targets, we're about at the midpoint of that bar. You can see that lines up right there with the low of this bar. So if we kind of come down and hit these two targets, all of a sudden we might be having a week with 3 days to go that could come all the way down and take out these weekly lows. There's a fair value gap in there, but that's going to have to develop. In the meantime, the trend is up. This is kind of a strange bar where you're not necessarily expecting things to move up. This is our target, by the way, this green bar. That's kind of on the, let me get to the, if we're looking at our monthly chart, we're still looking to get to that high up here. So that's why I have that marked out on the daily chart. We're trying to get there, but who knows, maybe we have to kind of take out some stops on the way down before we continue up there. And who knows, maybe we don't get there and we get a 2 down, if we fail on this week and get a 3 bar to the downside, that's going to take a bunch of time to reverse to the upside. So we might not get there by April. But anyway, if we stay above, this tail here at the bottom of the day can a lot of times provide good support on a typical chart. You can see here, here's a tail, the midway point of that tail had support. So any opening tomorrow, you kind of would love to see this little area hold, and obviously you want it to start up and continue higher, but this red day shows a little hesitation at the moment. So we're just gonna have to see what happens tomorrow. Do we start some kind of failure on a 2 down day with targets down here, and then if that gets taken out, then we likely, could be heading to the bottom of this range? Or is this just a typical uptrend with a little bit, the best trade actually would be some kind of maybe 2 down that doesn't reach these 2 targets, and then you get an eventual 2 up. That's a powerful buy to know you're in line on this weekly chart to kind of hit these monthly targets up here. So, should we get a 2 down, let's really monitor if you get the strong follow through. If not, then, if it just holds in here because you got a bunch of buying buying. You can see this day, all brought in buying near the lows. If we come down and bring in buying again and then get a 2 up, that's a very strong buy signal. These buy signals are not strong right now because, this was coming to start the week was after a kind of this doji bar, and it was an inside bar. This gapped up big. Anytime you see a gap up, a lot of times you expect it to come down. So hopefully this was just a fill the gap move, and then tomorrow we start above here, hold the low of today, and then immediately start up towards our target. So that's what we could have that on this red day. So let's see if that unfolds. The actionable signal is more, since it's a 2 up day, is more the 2 down, but that's in an overall uptrend at the moment. So, I would love to see some type of, some type of down move that fails to really get the strongest signal to the upside. Today, unfortunately, on the buy side, even though our targets are up here, we just started gapped up and had to move a little lower for the first move of the day. That was kind of the index trade of the day, just one morning move, and that was it. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Again, want to kind of hold this midpoint here and start higher. We'll see what the pre-market range is, and we'll see if maybe, this week this was just a pause day in the overall uptrend towards its target. So let's see how it goes tomorrow.